Abdu'l-Baha has been with me ever since, 80-some years. This morning when I got ready to say my prayers, I asked him, I'm going to need help today because I have to tell a story and I have to remember. I cannot lose my memory for this story. And when Gavin came to get me, I thought, oh, all right, let's go. No, I never worried about it. Never even thought about it except to ask for help. My name is Agnes Harrison. I've got 2 sons and a daughter. I have 6 grandchildren, and I have 7 great-grandchildren. I'm 88 years old, and I retired from Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. And I also was working for the oil industry, and I retired from there as well. Now I'm being a lazy person. I don't have to listen to the alarm clock. I don't have to get up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning so I could get my prayers in before I went to work. I was a computer operator. I'm glad to get rid of the computer. I didn't like it. I'm thankful that I don't have a telephone because I hate to hear the ringing. I wake up every morning, steady, ever since I've been retired, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I take that time to say my prayers. It takes me sometimes 3 to 4 hours to say my prayers. Of Crooked Creek. That's the English name. The native name is Skiptsachpagmeer, which means a big bend in the river. We have nothing but the villages, no theaters, no nothing, and no outside contact at all. The only time we would have an outside contact is when an airplane came in or somebody came in on a boat. Was going somewhere else, and they'd stop at our place because we had a roadhouse. And the girls, I had several sisters, and the girls would manage the roadhouse. We had a fish camp with a fish wheel, and in the summertime, that was our #1 job. The girls cut fish and canned fish and put fish away 24 hours a day in the summer. And in the wintertime, we'd enjoy them. We had no electricity, nothing of that nature to have a freezer. I didn't know anything about a freezer until I got to Anchorage. And then I was wondering what it was good for. And I later found out I came to Anchorage when I was in the 9th grade. We had a regular house, and we had wood stoves. The word igloo has been pronounced by English people for many, many years. Its original pronunciation is igloo, and it means a shelter. So it can mean any kind of shelter. But the only time that people lived in an ice house was when they were out camping or hunting in the wintertime or trapping, and had nothing else to build a house with. See, we didn't speak very much English. And as far as I know, English didn't come into being except when the missionaries came in, the priests came in, and they would have sessions in learning. The teachers that all came to the villages to teach spoke nothing but English. And if you spoke a native word in school, you were punished. I was a teacher. I opened non-English speaking schools in the villages, and I ended up getting fired because according to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they had a regulation that says there'd be no speaking of native words in the schools. And they reminded me of that, and I didn't pay any attention. And so the next telegram I got was, "You are no longer employed. We will not renew your contract to come February." So the villagers weren't very happy because this was the first native teacher they had ever had that spoke the language. My family was a big, big family. We had 13 children. I was number 12, but right now I'm the only one that's alive out of that family. All of them are gone. And my dad was French-Canadian. My mama was a tiny little Eskimo lady. And she was very active in making clothes for us, helping the girls to can fish and meat. We had a garden, and we grew a lot of things in that garden, a lot of vegetables. And we all were busy all the time, even us children. In the wintertime was the only time we had time to be ourselves, but we didn't want to go outside. And my sisters were postmasters. They had post office and took care of the roadhouse that we had, cooked the meals for everybody, visitors as well as the family. We all had to dish up ourselves, but us smaller ones had one of the elders help us to dish up our food. We never starved due to the wonderful ambition of my brothers who went out and searched for animals, moose, bear, birds. And we had a store, a small store. My dad had a very small store, a country store. We had a lot of stuff there. People would come and buy it, and they'd buy it on credit. And at the end of the hunting season and the fur season, they'd pay their bill. All right, my village is in here somewhere. It's called Crooked Creek. From there to Anchorage is quite a ways. We traveled in that area with dog sleds. The main transportation is the dog sled. It's still good to this day. It was a shock to me when I came to Anchorage because there were a lot of things there that I hadn't even dreamed about or even thought about because they were so modern. There were cars, there were restaurants, theaters, a roller rink, ice rink, all of those things. And so I kept active. I did a lot of volunteering. For every church that grew up, that was established. So at one time we had 44 churches in Anchorage, and I had visited most all of them. I was a Sunday school teacher. I did a whole lot of things with the church, but the thing that I got in trouble for is I would challenge the priest. I asked him why he thought he was speaking for God when God didn't speak through man, that God lived through man. And I did that for a while, and he kicked me out. Don't come back. Don't come back. And this was happened with every church that I went into, because I said I could speak directly to God for myself. See, we had 8th grade at the village, and so my dad wanted me to go further, as far as I could go. And I went through everything in Anchorage. I had to work because I had no money, and my family was not sending me any money. So I worked all the while I was in Anchorage through my high school years, and then I went to college in Washington. And I studied the dictionary because I didn't want to have an accent. You ever try reading the dictionary from page 1 to the end of the book? It took me years. It took me years. And all I wanted to know is how to pronounce the words. I didn't care about what they meant. I had to do it to survive, because in those days, we Native people were treated like the Negroes were treated. And we were second-class citizens. To this day, we're still second-class citizens, but a different type. My college, I had trouble. I had trouble with words. I had trouble with understanding what they were telling us. And I would end up writing the answers to a test on the wall. Now, I didn't know that I was doing that until my roommate said, "Look, we've got a job to do. We've got to clear that wall." I said, "What for?" She said, "Look, you wrote all over it. And you know that those words were the answers to the questions that was on the test." I was shocked. I said, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness." I was doing it in my sleep. And the only time I paid attention to him was when my roommate told me. So she later put up a big piece of paper. And she said, "Now, if you're going to do that, you write on this." And I did. I wouldn't have passed my grades if I didn't do that, because I was not proficient in English at all. I passed every test that I took because of that information given to me on the wall. And I left college in the summer to come back up here to find a job and to see if I could have a place to stay. The Robinsons they said they had a place to stay. So I went to visit them to see what, their daughter had just got married and left the house, and her bedroom was open. So they said I could stay there at $50 a month. As we were sitting on the couch talking, I looked over to my left, and I saw a bureau. It's not like a bureau, it's a buffet. And on top of it, there was a picture, one picture. And there were flowers on both sides. And I kept looking at that. We kept talking, and I kept looking at that. And finally, I asked her, "Who is that man?" And I'll never forget what she said, and I jumped all over her. I said, "Who is that man?" She said, "Do you know him? You know who he is?" I said, "Ma'am, I asked a question. Who is that man?" And she stopped, and I said, "Does he have a name?" She said, "Yes, his name is Abdu'l-Baha." "Where do you know him from?" I said, "I just know him." And I left to get my stuff from the other place where I was living, and I brought him back to her place, and I said, "What does this man do?" And she said, he's a representative of God." And I said, oh, I said, maybe this is what I've been looking for all these years and fighting with the priests and the churches. That was no question, because I could see him, I could feel him, and I never questioned him. I just thanked him. I had asked for help. Abdu'l-Baha was with me every step of my life, and I didn't care what he did. I didn't care what his name was. I just cared for him, because I had experienced someone like him before he came along, and that's what kept me going. It was very, very difficult to try to get people to understand that we Native people have problems with the language of English. I made it. I made it through college. I made it. I was a teacher. I was a United States judge. I was many, many other things that very few people accomplish. When I became a Baha'i, it was just, there was nothing to it. It was just like opening a door and walking in. When I came back the second year, I got married. We had a Baha'i service. The first Baha'i service in Alaska where both parties were Baha'is. So I have a lot of firsts in my life, and I don't think they're important, but other people think they are. He was a medic, and I was a teacher, and I had practical nurse training. And so I was the first one that could inoculate people in the village, could give them their shots for vaccinations. Abdu'l-Baha's been with me ever since, 80-some years. And this morning when I got ready to say my prayers, I asked him, I'm going to need help today, because I have to tell a story and I have to remember. I cannot lose my memory for this story. And when Gavin came to get me, I thought, oh, all right, let's go. No, I never worried about it. Never even thought about it except to ask for help. I know that Abdu'l-Baha and Baha'u'llah and the Concourse on High are in my life. I know that. And I don't have to try to figure out how I can have them in my life. They're there. And without their help, especially Abdu'l-Baha's, I wouldn't be here. Because Abdu'l-Baha got me through many, many serious illnesses. I don't know why he's so good to me. I don't know what I have done that he's helped me with. It doesn't matter your past. If your heart is searching, your answers will come like a breeze.